Boy oh boy do we have changes in store. Arlecchino didn't need these changes, but she got them anyways. I'll be discussing potential changes to Arlecchino and how it will impact her gameplay. Everything related to Arlecchino in this video is purely speculative and for discussion purposes only. So, Arlecchino was initially known to use her skill, then swap to a character to buff, and then when she got back to the field, she'd use her burst, do her charge attack, and then everything went smooth. If you messed up and took extra damage, then you'd be able to use her skill to heal. Well, that got thrown out the window. Now, her skill functions the same way as before except for two major features. It no longer heals, and the healing has been moved to her burst instead. And these have extreme consequences. In addition, the second major flaw, the cooldown, is insanely long now. This cooldown does get reduced when she lands normal attacks, but it's just a stupid design choice. Her new rotation goes something like this. Arlecchino will use her skill into her burst, reset the cooldown of her skill thanks to her new burst mechanic, and then use her skill again. Then you'll swap to your characters for buffing. When she goes back to the field, she will then not be able to use her burst as it will clear her gauge that you've been accumulating with her skill. Instead, she will use her charge attack to inherit the gauge, and her normal attacks to expend her gauge. And then at the end of the rotation, if her E happens to be off cooldown, you'll use it first, then you use her burst to heal and clear the gauge completely, then you'll use her skill again to reset and gain more gauge, then swap to your characters and do the whole process again. With the myriad of other changes, this will make her do more damage in a vacuum against enemies that pose no threat. But what happens when you have enemies that actually deal a lot of damage? In situations like this where you get hit right after using her burst, now you have zero energy, you have low HP, and you can't heal from other characters, so you're just completely out of commission, so you may as well be dead. Locking a burst to a core mechanic of a character is always a bad choice, and when it's healing, it's even worse. Her burst is a large portion of her kit, and its damage multipliers are pretty big, and you want to be able to control when you use it. If you want to vape, you want to pop that burst for damage, and now you literally have to be cautious and just don't use the burst, because if you need healing later, this is a massive DPS loss. It's just a stupid design. In a perfect world where you actually need to use her healing later, it's great. Using her burst early just puts a stop on everything. She now has no gauge to use from. She'll have to basically use her E to actually regain her gauge. And if her characters just activated their buffs, well, you're going to have to basically waste all of that time that you just buffed and buff again when they come off cooldown. In addition to these changes, her constellations will see a major buff. Her C1 now gives interruption resistance, and her C2, well, it gives you level 3 gauge immediately. So for those of you pulling for constellations, that's great, because she'll require no wind up to start attacking with her C2, which makes all of these previous changes kind of make sense. The payoff for the changes are just not worth it in my opinion. At her C2, she'll be great because her burst and her skill reset means that she'll immediately be able to basically start attacking. I'd much rather have a 15-second cooldown for heals tied to my skill so that if I'm at low HP, I'll have to wait 15 seconds. Rather than me slightly messing up and getting hit after I use my burst because I was prioritizing damage. Now I have to wait an infinite amount of time to regain my energy to use my burst again to heal Arlecchino, or I'll just sit there and wait to heal from my other characters. But hey, you can't do that because Arlecchino cannot heal from her other characters. This leaves no control over when you want to pop your burst for a giant nuke of damage, and while it works similar to Hu Tao, the difference is Hu Tao can heal from other sources, Arlecchino can't. For exploration, it's not that bad. I've seen a lot of people talking about that, but you can heal from any source if you're not in combat, so keep that in mind. Overall, I'm not a fan. You have to be careful for when you burst and pushing the agenda of shield is required. If you do mess up, you may as well just reset the Abyss floor, because using your burst and accidentally getting hit and having low HP basically means your Arlecchino is dead weight. She can't heal from any other source, and you'll have to passively gain energy to refill her burst to heal while also not getting hit, or waiting for your burst to come back naturally from the energy from your other teammates. It's just extremely gimmicky. Overall, however, this is a massive buff to her damage, and her skill will generate a lot of energy for Arlecchino. She will gain a larger gauge now very easily. She also can get off multiple skills per rotation thanks to the cooldown reduction based on her normal attacks, but this doesn't negate the issue. If you get hit hard after using her burst, you have to hard stop what you're doing and use her burst to heal, which might not be possible if your energy is low. It's kind of an insult that C2 fixes this completely, but this wouldn't be the first time that a constellation completely changes how a character works. Hopefully, this one glaring issue is rectified in the future, but we will have to wait and see. If they fix how she heals, then I will be completely satisfied with these changes. If you made it this far, then you may as well like this video because you must be enjoying it. Thanks so much for all of the support on my most recent videos, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to help get us to that 5K milestone. I would really appreciate it. I'll be updating you with every single update regarding Arlecchino in the future, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, Enigma out.